Yes, Erica, the previous was our TikTok version of Sword.
Yeah. So TIL, there's a gain button, slider, dial on this microphone.
Yeah, now you sound great.
Do I have to stand close to it, or can it be like
No.
here?
In fact, when you were showing the gain button, it got too loud because you had it near
That's
your
amazing.
face. Yeah.
So, like, this is okay?
I mean, it's got a little roomy tone to it, because you're not right up on it, but the level is great.
Okay.
What are you drinking?
Chardonnay.
Chardonnay?
Gun bun. No, it's just gun bun Chardonnay.
Yeah, that's the usual.
The usual. Got to burn through that collection. All right. Show notes wise.
Everything's as it is, right? Everything's as it is in there, right?
Yeah, I don't think we need to add too much.
No, I think it's good.
Aurora Rising. Gosh, I'm going to have to really dig back into my brain for Aurora Rising.
Yeah, I realize that too, especially when I notice like, oh, right, it's December. So all of the topics have been moved, to previous month because that's what we do.
All right. Well, we'll just wrap it up.
Yeah. I mean, do I have it in the right place actually?
Yeah. What do you mean? Yeah, you do.
We should put the kickoff before.
Oh, yes.
That way, if we get spoilery. Okay. There. That's better.
Oh, good. I'm still getting away from work emails.
Yeah. Oh, good. All right.
Okay.
I'm going to start the backup recording too. Is that 424? This is 424? Yeah. Nope. 425.
425. Yeah.
All right. Backup recording rolling.
Great. Okay. Then I think we are good to go over here. All right. And I have to move I need to be able to see you over here. And I put this thing over here. I'm at the top of the thing. Okay. And 3, 2, 1. All right. And 3, 2. Hey everyone, welcome to the Sword and Laser. I'm Veronica Belmont.
And I'm Tom Merritt.
Sword and Laser is a book club, but it's so much more. We bring you author interviews, news from the world of science fiction and fantasy, and awesome discussions from fans like you. I tried to do it off the top of my head, and I panicked because I thought I was going to say the wrong thing, and then I forgot what it was, but then I think I recovered.
You did. In fact, it felt more like a pregnant pause, like you were saying, we bring you author interviews. It was like a Shatner-esque. Yeah.
It felt a little bit too long. No?
I think it's a matter of opinion. Yeah. Yeah.
Like pregnant pause,
we'll
but like overdue decide. A couple weeks, like 42 weeks.
Yeah. This was a late baby. It was your thought. But healthy,
like
perfectly
like an 11
healthy.
pounder, like a little 12 pounder.
Oh, wow.
Just like, no thanks.
It's a lot of thought.
All right. What are you drinking, Tom?
Korean food.
Like blended?
No, I'm not actually
like
drinking
a smoothie?
I just have chopsticks. But yeah, we found a new Korean place delivers to our house, and it's really good.
What did you get?
We got some gaibae, we got some wings, we got some beef, spicy pork belly.
I saw a picture on the internet this week of a slice of pork belly that still had a nibble attached.
Yeah? Is that they charge extra for that?
So you can do that.
This is the special.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So cool. Well, how come no beer, no wine, just...
No, because I was too busy eating the Korean food. I should have soju is what I should have, but I don't.
That's okay. That's all right.
Pretend
I'll drink enough
I'm
for
going
you.
to get it later. Thank you. I appreciate it.
I'm having my, still working through that gun bun collection. I'm on the Chardonnay this week.
Delish. Yeah.
And I would like to thank Tamahome for commenting on my hair being down tonight.
Oh, yes.
Said it looked very luxurious.
Feels very 2008 in here.
It's a little frizzy. But trying something new. Now that my hair is like not falling out actively anymore, it's nice to be able to wear it down every once in a while.
Yeah, makes it easier. Yeah. If you don't let it down and it just keeps falling down, that's much better.
It's great. Yeah. It's great. Hey, we wanted to make a quick announcement, and thanks again yearly for Rob Zach coming through and reminding us and handling this whole part of our community. But the Worldbuilders charity situation is back live. So it's going to run through December 14th. Rob created a whole team page for Sword and Laser. It's fun because not only are you raising money, but you're also kind of competing against other teams. So that's like a really a little competitive aspect to it. That's really great. So you can help support Worldbuilders and Heifer International by making a donation through our page. It's super fast, easy, secure. And again, thank you so much to our support. We already met our first goal. Goals are being matched also. I'm not sure how that works. But someone, I don't know if it's a mysterious someone or if it's just part of the fundraising campaign, but some angel out there is matching donations. And also your work, if you work for a big company, might also match your donations. So like Adobe, for example, my employer is matching my donation. So that was pretty cool. So yeah, head over to fundraise.worldbuilders.org/sword and laser, and you can make a donation and help us, end world hunger.
Yeah. We probably won't end it tonight.
Not tonight. Maybe not this year.
But we'll get closer if you help.
It's a step in the right direction.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah. And of course, the Sword and Laser connection, aside from just a cool community doing cool things, World Builder is Patrick Rothfuss's organization. So this is one of the big projects that he takes on every year. And it's super, super rad.
Thanks, Patrick Rothfuss. You're the best.
He is the best. All right. Well, now it is time for our quick burns. Tamahome.
Oh, sorry. You go ahead.
Oh, you go.
No, you.
Okay. Tamahome says Amazon has a Wheel of Time guide in case you're a little bit lost. Are you caught up on the show? Are you watching it over on Amazon Prime?
I haven't started watching it.
You haven't?
No, it's one of those things that I'm like, I've got to get to it, but we've been so busy. I have so many things I have to watch for my other show, Cord Killers, and this is not one of them yet. So I plan to do what I did with Lock and Key. It took me a minute to get up to speed on Lock and Key, and then I blazed through it. And I have a feeling I'll do that with Wheel of Time, which will be easier because Lock and Key was the whole thing at once on Netflix. This at least I'll have a chance of catching up. So I'll probably binge it, maybe starting this weekend. Have you started it?
Yeah.
Obviously.
I'm enjoying it. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to the next episode. So longtime fans of the show may be remembering that I only made it through the first 4 books, which apparently if you're not a sci-fi fantasy / genre nerd, that's actually pretty impressive. But if you are a science fiction and fantasy nerd, you might say only 4 out of how many books was it? I thought it was 12, but I think it's actually 15.
It's a lot.
Yeah, someone in the chat will correct me pretty quickly, I'm sure. But it's a lot. And I only finished the first 4. And when I told Ryan, my husband, he was like, "You read that series, right?" And I was like, "No, only the first 4." And he was like, "Only the first 4?"
Well, so many people are just used to trilogies. They're like,
right.
Wait, there's more than 4? There's more than 3? Yeah.
So yeah, but the show I'm really enjoying, and I honestly don't remember a ton from reading the first quarter of the series. But apparently there's a lot in the show that did not happen in the books, which they do that sometimes to kind of make it flow a little bit better.
That's not unusual, right?
Or to condense some portions of the story, or characters get condensed sometimes too.
Yeah.
Not sure if that's happening
you're telling a visual story where people look at things. And so a lot of the things you can do on the page just don't work. You can do a voiceover instead of, having the narrator's thoughts or whatever, but that can be kind of clunky. And also you're telling it in different fragments of time. With a book, you sit down and you read as much of it as you want. The author is like, this is how long the chapter is based on how long I want to tell the story. With a TV show, we have more flexibility than we used to fitting into a standard broadcast clock, but people are used to chunks of, around 30 minutes, around an hour, depending. And so you want to have these tight little narrative arcs in each episode, which again, it won't always fit how the story is told in book form. So when people sometimes complain, well, that's not how the story is in the book. I'm like, yes, but if they actually did it exactly as it was in the book, you wouldn't like it either because it doesn't fit the format. Yeah. You got to make some changes.
That happened in another story recently too. I think the Expanse writers talked about this a lot, how there's a lot going on kind of in the internal monologue of the characters, the inner monologue that is harder to translate on screen. So you have to add a little more. What is the word that I'm trying to think of? It's with an E. It means when you're exposition.
Exposition. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you have to look at like, okay, what was contributed to the story by the thoughts in the written word, and what are the important parts of that, and how else can we convey that? Maybe it's exposition, maybe it is voiceover. I thought that I was going, or maybe you're like, we can show so-and-so picking up the plant and putting it in his face or whatever it was.
Great example.
Yeah. Let's move along to Mark, who pointed out an interesting new graphic novel called The History of Science Fiction, a graphic novel adventure by Xavier Dolo with art by Jibril Morissette Fan. For the first time in illustrated form, this comprehensive history of sci-fi traces its origins and charts its history from its humble beginnings to its respected status today. I love this idea. Yeah. I'm always a little bit trying to keep us from mission creep, so I tend to be like, we should only do graphic novels if they're related to stories we would read otherwise not in graphic novel form. I never thought we would have a graphic novel history of science fiction. This is really cool.
Yeah, I'm not sure how to. It links to a comic book locator website, comicshoplocator.com. And then I guess that's how you can find like a hard copy of this. But I'm trying to see if it's on like Comixology or something like that, like a way to read it on Kindle or iPads.
Yeah, you can get it from Comixology, iBookstore, Google Play, Isneo, Kobo, and Kindle.
How did you find that?
In digital form. There's a link down there that says digital comic in the same series. Oh. It's a little confusing because it's the same logo, right? So your eye kind of goes right over it. But if you click on that, then that gives you a different buy it now button. I
see. Very, very cool. Okay. That makes sense. Right on. So yeah, this looks fun. I definitely want to check this out. This is something I'm going to add to my list tonight. All right, Mark. Oh no, that was Mark. Treg says the Barnes & Noble Speculative Fiction Book of the Year is Under the Whispering Door by T.J. Klune, who was the author of The House in the Cerulean Sea. Treg says, I gave this book 5 stars primarily because I read it around the same time as the anniversaries of the deaths of 4 of my friends. Geez, Treg, I'm so sorry. Wow. So it hit me harder than it normally would. Right book, right time. So it will likely make my personal quote best of the year list, but I'm not sure I'd give it the top spot. That said, I do recommend it. Can't go wrong with a ghost dog. See also Latsue.
Yes, I do love the ghost dog in a Latsue as well. So you've hooked me, Trike. Well done.
It's so interesting how certain authors kind of come around in certain times. And, when I first started saying this, I meant this in the case of I hadn't heard of T.J. Klune before I read House of the Cerulean Sea. And now I'm seeing their work all over the place. And I wasn't aware of it before this. And so I'm like, ooh, I want to read more of their books.
Is that the Bader-Meinhof effect? Is that what that's called?
Oh, I think you might be right. Someone's going to Google that for us. But yeah, I think that's the man, I can't think of word. I have to tell you, my brain is so fried from work. I can't even think straight.
You're doing good.
Emails and Slack messages while we're doing this podcast. So I'll try to focus.
Yeah. Work, other work separation. Yeah.
Work separation.
I don't know how that works.
Separation between work state and church.
And
Work
church? Which one are we?
Didn't work.
Nicely done. Jan pointed out that Ridley Scott has revealed that not only is an Alien live action series in the works, but a Blade Runner one as two. Of course, Blade Runner is loosely based on Philip K. Dick's Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep. As Variety writes, Scott, quote, suggested the Blade Runner adaptation is being plotted as a 10-episode series. Scott said, we have already written the pilot for Blade Runner and the Bible. That's, the thing that the writers work off of. Mm-hmm. So we're already presenting Blade Runner as a TV show the first 10 hours. Yes. Scott also said Alien was getting a similar treatment. The pilot is being written along with a Bible of what transpires in 8 to 10 hours of that show.
I will probably watch the Blade Runner. It's interesting that they call them live action series. I would have just assumed they were live action series.
I guess with science fiction and fantasy particularly, there's so much animated going on that maybe the variety is just like, you know what, when it's live action, let's make sure we say so people understand in case because there have been a lot of Philip K. Dick's works turned into animated features too. So that makes sense.
That's true. Yeah, Alien I can do without, probably, but I understand why people are excited about it.
Xenomorphs.
Armut in the chat says, anyone else preferred to see Blomkamp's Alien movie? Blomkamp? Neil Blom Camp? Blomkamp? Blom?
Yeah.
Camp?
That guy.
That guy. Yeah. I would have liked to have seen that. I probably would have been too scared, but I would have been intrigued.
I was going to say, you wouldn't have watched either of them.
I'm watching the new Dexter show, kind of.
Are you? Oh, look at you.
I watched all of Dexter. That was, on the new level of scary for me. Anywho, Mark says the audiobook of Aftermath by LeVar Burton, read by the author, has been nominated for a Grammy under Best Spoken Word Album. Aftermath is an SF tale of a, quote, near-future United States torn apart by civil war and deep racial strife. So, not science fiction? And then Mark goes on to say, have any other sci-fi and fantasy tales been nominated for a Grammy? And then he actually has an answer.
Yeah, he links to his own posting on another thread of a listing of these, starting with Slaughterhouse-Five by Kurt Vonnegut Jr. in 1974. There's also Fahrenheit 451, The Silmarillion, Adventures of Luke Skywalker, The Empire Strikes Back original cast, Donovan's Brain, Orson Welles, Raiders of the Lost Ark, the movie on record, Foundation's Edge, Isaac Asimov, 2010 Odyssey 2. There's a bunch. We don't have time to list them all. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is in here. I Am Spock by Leonard Nimoy, which of course isn't science fiction, but Mark writes, but Spock. So yeah,
it fits. We'll accept it. You're next.
Seth says, best of lists are starting to be thick on the ground, but I thought this one was worth linking here. Picked by notable authors Lavi Tidhar and Silvia Moreno Garcia, and including some books I hadn't heard of before. It is a Washington Post listing of just good picks of the year. So if you need something to add to your list, you could do worse than Strange Beasts of China by Jan Gay, or Sword Stone Table, Old Legends, New Voices, or others that I can't see because there's a paywall that I haven't paid for.
I am super curious. I keep seeing the album of Dr. Moreau by Daryl Gregory showing up on a lot of lists, and it's working. The campaign, the campaign is working on my brain. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do know that it is Washington Post, so you've got to be a Washington Post subscriber to read it. Unless you have not exhausted your free pages, which I definitely have.
I have not yet, so I'm able to see it. That's how I was able to see this list. So I'll save it as a PDF for you and send it to you if you're interested.
No, don't do that. That's getting around the terms of service. Oh. I don't know.
I mean, I was joking. That was a joke. That was just for
Of course it was
sake.
A joke. It's satire.
That's right. Buzz says, Leviathan Falls, the 9th and final novel in The Expanse, has just dropped.
And I'm
jumping around the house with my arms flapping over my head and a crazed look in my face while shouting, woohoo! That's from Buzz. And then Mark says, Jade Legacy, the 3rd and final novel in the Green Bones saga, just dropped. Do you have a copy? Are you showing me a clock? I can't see it. It's cut off.
Camera. I forgot we were tighter.
Tighter. It's beautiful. So you're still getting books, huh?
You know what? For Jade Legacy and for Leviathan Falls, I bought hardbacks for the first time in a long time.
Good for you.
I'm like, you know what? I love these series, both. And I want the thing. I want the book. So I have read every James S. A. Corey, The Expanse novel and novella on digital. And this time I am not. I'm reading Dead Tree paper.
Oh, man. I haven't.
And the reason Leviathan Falls isn't in here is because it's in my bedroom because I've been reading it.
Because you've been reading it. Oh, good. I'm excited. All right. That's tough because I'm already enjoying our March pick. And I'm reading our current month's pick, and I want to read the new Green Bone Saga novel.
See, I'm doing our picks on audio, so I have a different time of day carved out for that.
I am listening
so it
to
kind of
our
doesn't
current pick in
conflict.
audio. Yeah. I just have not a ton of time to do anything, so unfortunately. Cool.
Heard
Lots
that.
of good stuff. Always. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. All right. Well, now it is time for Barrier Sword, which is our feedback from the audience. You want to start us off?
H.M. Mead wrote on Twitter in response to someone asking about favorite book podcasts. Reading Glasses podcast is a great one for book lovers. And Sword and Laser is a great sci-fi fantasy book podcast. Meta Milk Pod, I'm not familiar with this one, is a wonderful Life's Big Questions kind of podcast. And Office Ladies Pod is fun if you're a fan of the show The Office.
I do love that The Office is getting a new life with the Gen Z crowd. Very exciting.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very dating of it to be a classic watch like Friends.
I know, like Friends.
Like, wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess they kind of almost touch. They overlap.
How come they're
maybe
not
a year.
like classic watching Cheers? Or like...
Cheers is actually getting a little bit of classic watch, but
Really?
it just isn't getting the buzz. I think partly because it is even more dated, having started in the early 80s, and there's some definite misogyny going on in Cheers that if you don't want to look past, you're not going to enjoy it.
What about like Mork and Mindy? I feel like that's got
I
like a
haven't watched
hipster
Mork and
vibe.
Mindy in a lot of time. Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway, I don't know. TT Lintz says, Sword and Laser, I've loved you for a long time, but now I'm totally invested, and it's torture between episodes. You're toying with me.
We didn't mean to
I'm
toy.
sorry.
No. We're here. We're here, TT. We're here for you right now. Welcome.
But
if you had
should
too
come
much
watch the
of us,
show live.
Yeah, you wouldn't. If you had too much of us, you'd get sick of us. So
And don't forget, I mean, there's a lot of back episodes, and
True.
there's a lot of video episodes somewhere. Are there?
Yep.
There's season
They
2
are
at least.
on. Yeah, they're around. You can find them. No, we have them way back on our blog somewhere. Reposted. You got to look for the reposts. Yep.
Oh, really?
I
Okay.
confirmed this. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, because we went through and re-uploaded them to our own YouTube channel and to archive.org, I think even.
Okay. I thought we didn't own the first season.
We got the first season back
Okay.
at one point.
Okay.
They gave it to us and
Cool.
said, here, it's yours now. I know this because I did all the re-uploading and reposting of the rewind.
That's terrible. I'm sorry.
Yeah. It was a
Good
good time.
job, though.
Thanks. Ruth says, I love the verbal picture from last week of me as the leader of a plucky band of rebels going against the tyranny of the official October book pick. Also, I love the concept of a 300-page novella, kind of like a 3-course snack or a 40-mile marathon. That's Ted Williams for you, I guess. And then Jenny responded to that. I think in the past, when an alt pick has been unofficial, it was referred to as a rogue read. So Ruth is the rogue leader of a plucky band of rebels, obviously.
Well said. Well said. Very well said. That's cool. Yeah, we haven't done an unofficial official.
Is that your dog?
Yep.
That's loud drinking over there. What is your dog drinking?
Bodega is drinking water. Looks like water. Yeah.
Any particular kind of water?
You're choosing now to be so thirsty? Oh, baby girl.
You don't choose, you know.
You don't choose when you're thirsty,
thirst hit,
you know?
hits
No,
you.
it's not the
You gotta-
toilet. It was her dog bowl is situated right to my
Yes,
left.
Veronica does not sit next to the toilet when she records. Thank
My
goodness.
office
So-
is in the kitchen these days because I have given it up for the baby human child. So now I work out of the office, and so that's why I sound echoey and why my dog can drink her water right by my feet. So
Oh, Bodega just wanted to be on the show. That's nice.
this is our life. It's our life. It's fine.
Ray's like fast asleep right now.
Yes,
My dog.
snoring somewhere. That's cute.
It's not quite snoring.
Also, apparently, Mork and Mindy is not appropriate, according to Erica. So,
I mean,
it makes sense.
yeah. Well, Ruth, you are part of the Rebel Alliance and a reader. Take her to the library.
All right. Should we jump into our book discussion? We've got... I'm not ignoring that. I'm just moving on awkwardly from that.
No, but you were doing a good job.
Good.
Good.
What am I talking about? Okay.
Our
Book of the month
December book
discussion.
pick
Yes.
from you.
Did you write a thing about it?
I did. Did
you wanna
not
read
get
it?
it? The Inheritance of Orquídea Divina by Zoraida Córdova.
Orquídea.
Yeah. No, you're right.
Yeah.
Orquídea Divina by Zoraida Córdova. You made this pick by using that book page website that we talked about on the last episode.
I did. I said I would, and I did.
Yeah.
I'm happy about it.
So how was that? How did that work? How did that go?
It went fine. I just I went to one of their lists and I was like, oh, this list I can't remember which one I looked at, but I was like, oh wow, like all of these sound really interesting to me. And I picked one that felt just the most like that I was excited about reading. And I like that. Yeah. I don't know why I don't get that same feeling with Goodreads as much these days. I think it's because there's just too much there and it doesn't feel as curated anymore, because like you look at a list and it's just like, you know, a lot of people have voted on the lists over many years and it's kind of the same stuff, but this felt like fresh and curated and kind of fun. So yeah, I don't know, I'm excited to read it.
Yeah, I'm excited too. The bookshop.org page for this calls it perfect for fans of Alice Hoffman, Isabel Allende, Sarah Addison Allen. If you've read those authors and like them, supposedly this will fit right into that vein for you. It's a novel about a family searching for the truth hidden in their past and the power they've inherited. Zoraida Córdova was born in Ecuador, moved to the U.S. around age 5 or 6, grew up in Hollis, Queens, and was inspired to write by learning that Atwater Roads was published when she was 14 years old. And was like, well, okay, well, I should be able to do that too. After college, she interned at PMA Literary and Film Management, where she met the person who would become her literary agent. She's written other series, the Vicious Deep series, the Brooklyn Brujas series, and Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, A Crash of Fate as well. Also writes romance novels under the name Zoe Castile and co-hosts a podcast, Deadline City.
Oh, neat. What's that? Did they say what that's about?
It's a writing podcast.
Oh,
for
very
authors.
cool.
Yeah, talking about writing. Yeah.
Very, very cool. All right. Well, I've started listening to it. The audiobook is great so far. So if you're looking for an audiobook to listen to, I would already recommend this one. I've been enjoying it quite a bit. So yeah, that's the December pick. Super excited. And now
so get in there and read. I know most of you are like probably almost done, but you know, it's December 2nd, so we have to pretend like it's the beginning.
It's the beginning. I'm only like, you know, a couple chapters in. I'm not that far in.
Oh, I have barely started it.
Okay.
Like, I don't know.
I thought you were about to
know
say
much
you're almost
at all.
done.
Oh, no. Yeah. I'm behind because I too have had a lot going on and not a lot of time to read. Especially with James S.A. Corey coming out. I'm like,
with all these books.
I
know.
Divide this back up. Yeah.
It's hard. But we are going to wrap tonight, and it will be a spoilery discussion of Aurora Rising / The Prefect by Alistair Reynolds. So thank you to all the folks who contributed to the conversations over on Goodreads. I loved this book. I thought it was great. I really enjoyed it.
You sound surprised that you loved it.
I don't know why I feel surprised. It felt like such a Tom read. I know I mentioned this in the last episode, but there were so many points in this
and it
book.
wasn't even really my pick. It was Tamahome who did all of the campaigning for it, and I just plucked it and said, "Yeah, that looks great. Let's read it." But I can see why you would say that.
Yeah, it felt like, it's so funny because I have never actually read any Raymond Chandler, but now I always feel like I relate things to Raymond Chandler just based on your other recommendations of books that feel like Raymond Chandler books.
Okay, I can see that. Yeah. And it's probably been 2 decades since I read a Raymond Chandler, but I was so into them in the 90s. Yeah.
So now I feel like I know via osmosis
You've
what
just
these books are supposed to feel like. Yeah.
Absorbed noir.
But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was, the world building was so interesting to me. And, I think Dreyfus was I don't agree with any of the characterizations of how he's supposed to look from that thread on Goodreads. I did not picture him that way at all. But that's fine. But I liked he had a really good vibe. He's obviously been through a lot. I loved his relationship with, oh my gosh, I have to go through all of the names. Aumonier, Jane Aumonier. They're, this very respectful relationship that they had, where she trusted his judgment and he trusted her leadership, and he was very, loyal to her, which obviously was important, when so much was going on to undermine her authority, while she was kind of at the mercy of the Scarab and the Clockmaker. And the Clockmaker is just such an interesting character and such super, I feel like I haven't in science fiction, really experienced a character. I mean, I'm sure there's been characters like that, but I just wanted to learn more. I just wanted to experience more of that particular dude. And Aurora, who is the antagonist, the perfect antagonist. And now they just exist on the glitter band, in this kind of, opposite give and take, they have this power struggle now where they're just in perfect harmony almost with their abilities and their powers, and living kind of ambiently in the background, which is such an interesting thought. Everyone's always just going to forever be on this knife's edge of destruction, between these two superhuman, omniscient entities that are seeking to control the human race in many ways.
Yeah, it's almost mythological. In the way it's and so from then on, the forces of, well, not light and dark, because I don't know which one would really be good or bad.
I think
but
they're both evil.
Two really powerful forces fighting in the background while we live our lives in their shadow, basically. Yeah. And I could see this being a standalone book and just saying, and that's how it was, because that's almost a satisfying ending. And possibly Reynolds was thinking it would be standalone when he finished it. But then there is definitely curiosity of well, okay, but how's it turn out? What happens? Does it break back out into human society, or is
I need to know, chat room is kind of blowing up right now. They're saying, Tamahome says, I wanted to hit Gaffney. Okay. Yes, everybody wanted to hit Gaffney. I saw that and I thought Dreyfus. I'm wait, why do people want to hit Dreyfus?
No,
Gaffney was such a turd. What a douche.
Yes, from your perspective as the reader, but from Gaffney's perspective, this is why I like this book so much too. Gaffney made perfect sense from Gaffney's perspective. Yeah. Gaffney is right. Gaffney's the freaking hero of his story, and he was betrayed, and look what happened. It's not Aurora didn't get out anyway, and now we have the Clockmaker out too. Gaffney sees this book as a tragic ending of this is the worst possible scenario. The two most powerful beings are now, I told you this would happen. And not that I agree with Gaffney in any way. I'm totally on Dreyfus's side, and I'm with the way Dreyfus approached this, but I get Gaffney. Like there is an internal logic. It wasn't just like, well, you're just not thinking it through, or you're being blind to certain facts. Like Gaffney made sense. It was very complex. And I think that's another thing I like about this is even though it is like a detective novel, a police procedural, Dreyfus isn't the bad cop. A lot of times in film noir and Chandler type novels, you've got a private investigator, right? And they cut corners because they're not actually police, and so they can get away with stuff, but they've got a heart of gold, so you know they're never going to cross the line too much. Whereas Dreyfus is like, he's by the book. He's the one who's like, no, we shouldn't cut corners. No, we're not
going to use the weapons. They didn't vote for the weapons. I don't want to use the weapons.
He's trying to pull them back and be like, no. We really like. He's realistic. He's not like some ideologue who's like just over there shouting, "We've got to follow the rules." He's like. He's even willing to bend the rules when he feels it's necessary, but he's like, but we should be focusing on justice and we should not use nukes. And there are lines. I think it's fascinating that way.
Yeah.
And like you said, those alien characters, man, oh, they're so good. That's where this didn't really remind me of the other Reynolds I've read. I've read a lot of the Blue Remembered Earth.
Oh, I haven't.
And
yeah.
It was when you started to learn more about Aurora and how Aurora treated people and the Clockmaker. I'm like, okay, this is feeling more like the Reynolds that I have read.
Okay, so they come up in is that part of
no. Blue Remembered
series?
Earth is an entirely separate series. Okay. I'm just saying it felt more like, oh yes, these are the kinds of things I'm used to getting from Reynolds. Whereas the police procedural part was like, oh yeah, this is kind of like. Not mundane, but like, it's not as high concept. It's not it's not as mind expanding. Whereas once you learn about Aurora and the Clockmaker, you're like, oh yeah, these are entirely alien. These aren't like, it's an alien, but it's kind of like Hitler or whatever. Like, no, this is like, an entirely different way of thinking and being. And Reynolds is really good at that.
Yeah. Who was your favorite? Well, okay. Two things. One, Cats. Is that I just realized that on Riverside it shows you the time of when people are when they're chatting. Like it shows their local time. And Erica, it's 3:00 in the morning where you are. What are you doing?
Don't shame Erica.
I'm just honored.
Erica's up late. Yeah. We're honored. Absolutely.
I'm just honored. And this is me who goes to bed at 9:30, so I'm just like impressed and honored.
I think that's why Veronica. We're both early to bed people. So yeah.
And then I wanted to talk a little bit about my favorite character in this book was actually Clepsydra. And I do not feel like I got enough. Like I want the Clepsydra backstory. Like I want to learn more about kind of her, like the conjoiner, like situation. Like maybe other books go into that more. I know more books kind of explore the ultras and the conjoiners and some of the other like, humanoid species out there. I'm sure it's all part of the trilogy or the series, but yeah, I thought she was super cool. And I love how she came around at the end to just like mess with Gaffney and be like, oh, you thought you won? Guess what? I'm literally haunting your whip hound. I am here to like mess you up. And she got hers at the end. And that made me like super stoked. It felt very satisfying.
Yeah. I hope you do get more Clepsydra. I don't know if you do or not, but I absolutely do. I'm torn. Part of me loves Talia. Okay. I feel like that was really a sort of a young take. It was a here's what the next generation. It's not a young Dreyfus, but it's the next generation after Dreyfus. This is how they are going to be, which one of the things Reynolds does so well is creates a world much bigger than the story he's telling. So the reason that you're like, I want more Clepsydra is because you also want more conjoiners and you want more of the ultras and you want more about Talia Ing and what does she do? Like everything is deep. And so I really liked Talia and her side story where she's like having to, for the first time, instead of being like Dreyfus, where I'm going to rely on my years of experience, Talia's like, well, crap, I'm going to rely on my ingenuity because I don't have years of experience. but I also liked Sparver.
Oh yeah, I know he was great.
I feel like maybe Sparver's my favorite though. We just don't get enough of Sparver, but when he comes in, it's always like, let me be. Yeah, Dreyfus needs him. Actually, Dreyfus needs the Sparver counterweight, and Sparver needs the Dreyfus drive. In some ways, it kind of reminds me of Amos and Holden from The Expanse, right? Holden's the idealistic one, kind of like Dreyfus,
yeah,
and Amos is the heavy who needs that conscience, kind of like Sparver.
You saw Sparver as a heavy? That's interesting.
Not so much as a heavy like Amos, where and not to be spoilery for anyone who hasn't read The Expanse, but Amos is kind of like a big, bodyguard type. I don't see Sparver so much like that, but like Sparver's not as worried about the morality of it all. He wants to do right, but he kind of needs Dreyfus to help him, and that's the respect where I feel like it was similar.
I liked Talia. I felt really bad for her. I felt, as someone who works in technology, I felt a lot of empathy about like messing things up.
When her product shipped and it ruined the glitter band, and you're like,
she basically like shipped a bad patch. So I was like, should have put that through more QA, like rough. But yeah, that side story was. I felt bad for her because she was, doing that all in a vacuum, with no contact and very little field experience. But she came through in the end and had to make like a lot of tough calls. And I'm really happy that in the end, like her father was kind of, got to have his comeuppance, or not comeuppance, but was proven to not have been a traitor. He just flew a little too close to the sun. That was, was it Firebrand? Yeah, he got too close to Firebrand, right. And so that was vindicated. Thank you, Tamahome.
Yeah.
Oh, I love having a live chat that can find the words that I so easily lose in my muddled brain.
Chat, you are the wind beneath our vocabulary.
In the spaces between my brain synapses and my mouth parts, words get lost sometimes. There's an intention there, and it doesn't quite make it to production. But I loved the idea of the habitats and that concept of essentially having like a mini galaxy made up of human-created habitats on asteroids, or, however they were put together, and being like kind of, these discrete societies that can run themselves. And the only rule is they have to contribute to the democracy and they have to participate. But like very little other oversight. What are you saying?
Except, and Reynolds acknowledges this in the storyline, right? And that is Gaffney's point, is like, this experiment in libertarian federalism will only work for so long.
Yeah. I mean, it's clear you see it falling apart in many ways.
And I think that's what made Gaffney such a deep character, is like, well, he's not wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, his solution is not right from where I sit, but he is definitely identifying a real problem that a lot of people I don't think want to identify. Like, no, our system is great. It'll last forever. It doesn't need tweaking. And that's a universal, right? That is a theme that is played out throughout history. And he executes it so well where it just feels pertinent to the glitter band, not a veiled criticism of the society in which Alistair Reynolds lives.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's spot on.
But I loved all of those individual habitats and how varied they were. And I love that concept of, you can have totally different societies here and there, and each one can set its own rules within a very simple set of parameters. It's an attractive thought.
I keep having this idea and I keep forgetting about what I want to say about it.
I keep trying to buy you time because I see you trying to.
Oh, great. Okay. Well, it's obviously not that important. But
I will say that.
Okay. So like, it's very clear. Thank you. That something is going to happen. Like Aurora is like, I haven't read the series. I have no spoilers. It's just like, Aurora's probably right. I mean, something's going to happen. But like, is it the job of humanity to, how do I word this?
Mm-hmm.
Like
Aurora's right.
Aurora's right. Something awful is going to happen. But is her method of dealing with it the best way? Like
No.
But is there are there other ways?
No.
Yeah. So what's going to happen?
That's also like a real problem that recurs throughout history, which is that doesn't mean you go with Aurora. That means you keep working on finding another solution. Which is that's harder when you don't have the solution. It's easy later to be like, well, and obviously they just had to wait for Dreyfus to finally come up with the solution, which was X. If that's what's going to happen, I'm not saying it is or it isn't.
They have to wait for the humanity-ending plague to become endemic,
or they have to wait for someone to spot something that they didn't realize and say, that's just an Omicron job that we could have run.
Oh my God. Yeah, it was a little too close to home. Felt a little too on the
nose.
Current, a little on the nose.
Too in the nose, like a
too
test.
in the nose, just like shoving it up there.
No, it's but yes, you have to you can't just be like, well, this is all we have. You have to realize that sometimes it's an ongoing effort to find the solution. And even when someone finds the solution, it may be not obvious that it's the solution. And then how do you decide that it's the solution?
Yeah.
History always seems so clear cut when you look back on it, because you know how it ends. You know how each war ends or each plague. Or when you're actually living in history, it's all uncertain. And
history is written by the victors. Yeah.
Well, there's also that is a separate point as well. I'm less making the history is written by the victors point and more like, oh, well, obviously the way you get out of, the bubonic plague is you figure out it's rats and you get rid of the rats. Like, seems obvious. Well, yeah, because we know the history and we know it was rats now. It's a whole different thing when you're living through it and people are like, I think it's rats. And people are like, but how do you know? And you're like, I don't know. and yeah. Anyway, that's all there with Aurora going, this is going to happen. And it's like, okay, but I don't know that putting you in charge is the only solution.
Right. So final thoughts. My final thoughts are Dreyfus is rad. Jane Aumonier getting her head chopped off was so metal, and it was so sick that she survived. That was like
Can you
most
imagine
badass.
being like, yeah, I had my head chopped off once, whatever.
Yeah. So that was dope. That was super awesome. Talia, badass. Glad she got her vindication in the end and survived that whole situation. I enjoyed her little, she had this moment with this mentor-like figure. I can't remember his name, on the planet.
Scottish guy.
The Scottish. Yeah. Whip hounds are freaking awesome. I want a pet whip hound. So deadly.
Oh yeah, we didn't even talk about the sort of we should get authorization from the people. They didn't give it to us. Well, let's take it anyway.
Yeah, that was super super lame. But I understand.
But also necessary, even so much that Dreyfus was like, okay, but only up to a point.
It was freaking sick that the not the conjoiners, the ultras came to Jane's rescue or support,
right?
Because they respected her as a badass leader of Panoply.
Yeah. Pay it forward.
The names of all the habitats are freaking weird. Like Ruskin Sartorius. I want to know
Sartorius.
Sartorius. What was the other one? What was the one that Talia was on? The names of all their ships are super funny and weird. Accompaniment of Shadows. That was the conjoiner, the conjoiner ship. Super weird names. Philip Lascile. Where does he come up with? I mean, there's a lot of interesting. I feel like there's a lot of French Canadian influence in this book.
Yeah, maybe.
So I'd be curious to know what the connection there. I felt like I wanted to learn more about Yellowstone. I think we talked about that in the last episode.
We did finally get to the surface.
We did get to the surface. Right? Yep. I kind of was like, is this Earth? Is this Earth? Was this Earth?
No.
It was not Earth. Okay.
No, it's not all about Earth. Earthers.
I know. I'm such an Earther. God. So yeah, and Gaffney's a dick. The end.
Yeah. There you go. Harry B. in Discord said, I've been reading Revelation Space all out of order, but I still love it all. I am one of those people who don't mind reading things out of order, and for many books, no criticism here, the genre is predictable enough that I can understand what's going on. Reynolds less so, but not less enjoyable. I revel in all his inventions. I had read the sequel to Aurora Rising, Elysium Fire, in 2019. I'm not sure I've even got the feeling of, oh, now I understand, after reading Aurora Rising, The Prefect. It's all such a crazy quilt. You just flow with it. I wonder if anyone else has been reading out of order, and what's your experience? Chasm City has been on my to-be-read list, but I'm wondering if I should listen to one of those internet reading order lists. To which Tamahome responded, Reynolds himself says the books are a mosaic, not a series. So I think that feeling means it's working, Harry B. It's the way it's meant to. I've read books out of order because I accidentally bought the second in a series. Sometimes it's fine. Sometimes it plays like it's intended. And in this case, really is intended.
I feel like that shows a lot of skill of the author to be able to write in that way, where you can feel like you can pick up any book and enjoy it as a standalone, but also feel immersed in the wider world that it's a part of.
Yeah, absolutely.
Pretty dope. All right. Well, I think that kind of wraps up our wrap up. Thank you so much to everybody who contributed to the conversation. And thank you for everybody who contributes to the show via Patreon. We're entirely funded by you, our patrons. You can help support us by heading over to patreon.com/swordandlaser.
There's also another way to support the show. You can buy books through our links. Find links to the books we talk about and some of our favorites at swordandlaser.com/picks.
We are on Instagram and Twitter at Sword and Laser. You can send us an email at feedback@swordandlaser.com. And all of our discussions that we feature here on the show happen either on goodreads.com/swordandlaser or on our Discord. You can find info about that over on our website. That's it. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, chat room.
Bye, chat. Thank you.
Get to sleep, Erica. Get some rest.
Good night, Erica.
You goof. All right. See you guys soon. Bye.